Hello, everybody, and welcome to the As You Are podcast. My name is Leslie Vander, founder of Ensō Coaching and Consulting, and I am here with the gang.
The gang.
The
The gang's all here.
The gang's all here.
The gang's all here.
Based today.
I know.
Yeah.
Look at you.
Libby, Adam, Kathleen, and guess what, guys? Season opener.
Beep, 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 beep.
Yay.
Season
Oh
4.
my God.
Oh my goodness. We're going into preschool.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I feel
mean,
like
it's
4
really good.
seasons is good. That's like a good show.
Oh, you're saying ended.
No,
Oh.
keep
No.
going. I want us to keep
The
going
tipping
until it
point.
gets really weird.
Yeah, I
well,
know. I
you
mean,
know
we've
what?
talked about
It
this. We've
hasn't?
talked about jumping the
Creeping
shark.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
hasn't?
hasn't?
Today it will.
Wow.
Question mark?
Maybe it will.
Yeah, so season 4, you guys.
Season 4.
I love it. I'm so
Are
excited.
we
Welcome. Thanks for sticking with us.
Yeah. Are we
That's what you
still-
say to the camera.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Are we still having fun?
I mean, come on.
Always.
Any morning I get to come spend with you amazing people.
That's true.
It's the most
Same.
fun.
Yeah.
Same.
Sometimes we talk. I'll talk to the camera. Sometimes we get here and we just talk for like 20 minutes and realize we need to film a podcast
Yeah.
episode. So
Maybe
that
that
kind of
should have
happens
just been
today.
Should have just been
everything
the show.
we just
Yeah.
said before we started.
I know. I know.
Natural.
That's right.
But it is fun. I mean, like, I think the thing that's so lovely is that we, do get to spend time together and it's like forced fun.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys, forced fun.
I love forced fun.
B, it forces us to get ready and get dressed and look halfway decent.
That's
This
the
is-
biggest
I guess
challenge.
y'all do it. I think I still am like, all right.
Oh, get outta
last
here.
night's
Get outta
mascara.
here.
Never. Oh,
Get
that
outta
is a
here.
good title, though. Last night's
Oh,
mascara.
man.
That is good.
The Ensō story.
Yeah.
That's like the after hours.
I
Like,
mean-
that's what you
That's
get.
right.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll film this podcast in the
Mhm.
evening and talk
Yeah.
about different things.
Yeah.
But yeah, we get to get together. We get to get together. And why did that feel so
I don't know.
weird?
There's a lot of getting.
And I mean, just learn from each other
Mhm.
and hang out and giggle and do all the fun
Yeah.
stuff, you know?
Absolutely. And I like that moment when we're kind of looking around. And since this is so organic, that it's like, where are we feeling organic today?
It's true.
It's very true. It's very true. Well, so season 4, we already have some really exciting speakers lined up
Yeah.
for this season.
Yeah.
And, I think that's like just going back to the root, the opportunity that we saw was how do we highlight people from Austin, either, artists because we're artists, but also Ensō is a business. And, and we like to highlight business owners and entrepreneurs and leaders in
Mhm.
the Austin area that are doing new and different things. And we've got a good slate coming up for you.
That's what I was
Yes.
going to kind of ask you, Leslie, is how do you, well, I know it's not just you that picks, like we all kind of, but how do you decide like who you want to come on the show? It's such
Oh,
an exclusive club.
I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, it's like looking around and being like, who could we
Yeah.
have on the show? Who has an interesting story that they could tell?
Yeah.
I think I'll just give a couple of examples. Mike McKelvey, who has been in Austin, he's kind of an Austin artistic staple. He's been around for a very long time.
But it's
Yeah.
Do you
all
call
over
him
the
that?
place.
yeah, I'll
But, like,
call him a
done
staple. Yeah.
He's done a lot of different things in Austin and has kind of, he's since moved, but keeps coming back.
Yeah, there's a
for
I
magnet.
more.
know.
Yeah.
Yes.
A magnet.
He keeps coming back for more,
Are
probably
we the
because of us.
magnet?
Yeah.
Are we?
I mean,
Are we the magnet?
But he has built kind of a
Yeah.
niche in doing these off Broadway productions that nobody else would do in Austin. That's kind of the mission
And has
of
done.
Dr.
Yeah.
Mista.
Right.
And he
Yeah.
has done, yeah.
Yeah.
For
And for years.
long-
like 15 years, I
Yeah.
imagine,
Right.
something like that.
Right, exactly.
That's been
Yeah.
a long, long time.
Yeah, and
It's
so
optimistic.
getting to highlight somebody like that who is an artist and is, working to kind of build a niche and has built a niche, but is also a business person. He very much thinks about what he's doing as a business.
Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
that'll
Mhm.
be a really fun conversation.
Yeah.
Mhm.
agreed.
Yeah.
Who else do we have, Leslie?
We have an author. This was actually an old colleague of mine and Libby's who was a military vet. He was in Afghanistan, was a soldier officer, I believe,
Mhm.
and ended up building a pretty wide business in Austin now. He's kind of does some real estate. He has a couple of like laundromats and has done all of that, but then has written a book about leadership in the context of his experience through he was also, wasn't he a baseball player at West
Yes.
Point? Yeah, he was a baseball player at West
That's
Point.
very impressive.
I mean, he was just
He's got a lot going
it was
on.
a great conversation, and he'll be somebody that we're looking forward to.
Yeah, knock your socks off.
Yeah, and I mean, just like a wide variety. And so like so for me, half of the time it's just like looking around and being like, who should we highlight? Like, who
Because
do
there
we
are
know?
so many of
Story
those
to tell,
people in
yeah.
Austin.
So
Like Austin
many.
does, the ecosystem of Austin does seem to have a unique venning of artists and creatives and people who are either in business or business minded or business interested.
Yeah.
Even like legal people. And it's just very interesting here how those seem to like revolve around one another for so many people.
Yeah.
And I do think that's a really interesting thing about where we're located and based
Yeah.
to do this podcast here, because we do have access to so many people who have these really cool things they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. I mean, it's an
I
exciting little place, and we've all been here for so long.
Yep.
The relationships that we have, it yields itself to have some very interesting and fun conversations.
I just love talking to, and I think hearing a lot of times everyone's stories that, we know them and we know maybe a little bit about them, but kind of the whole picture, I think is just one of the pieces that I really like a lot when we have guests in.
Absolutely. And I think, and this is something we experience a lot through coaching, the things that maybe they don't even realize about themselves, where it's like, we're talking, you're asking this question, and all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, wow, absolutely. Like, this was the gap that I came in and did, that there are things that we're very conscious about and very intentional about. And then I think there are the things where we talk about what is organic that maybe we're not even fully aware that we're doing.
100%. Sometimes it is just about going and doing and being in the grind and functioning, and then being like, oh,
I guess I
it was
do that.
intentional.
Yeah.
It was somewhat intentional, even if it wasn't thoughtful or purposeful. So, yeah, it's been fun.
Agreed.
And, and I think the other thing that I mean, the more that we continue to sit here and gab with each other, the more we're kind of progressing in our own spaces.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there's been a lot of learning that we've had over the past several months too that has been eye-opening and interesting as well.
Yeah.
One of the things that we will highlight this season is the need, and the opportunity that we have had in going into organizations and working with organizations as a whole versus individual clients. And that is, that's just an area that I think we've gotten a lot more clear about the gap that exists and how effective coaching in those kinds of partnerships are.
Absolutely.
And simply the willingness to take those leaps, because I think trusting one's own experience and abilities, even when it might be easy to say, well, we started this coaching company and it was meant for individuals because that's what we saw and that's what we have done. But also, we've all worked in a lot of organizations with many people and organizational dynamics. And I think that is in and of itself such a lesson learned, is take those leaps because they often produce really amazing fruit, as the organizations that Ensō has been so involved with
Right.
have played out to be the case.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too, just to remain flexible in the fact that we didn't, start Ensō and was like, this is the only thing, like this is what we're doing, and really going where the need is and seeing like, okay, how else can we expand our services? What else can we do? And I think that that's something that, a lot of people, it's hard to pivot and kind of move with whatever is current and happening. And I think that that's one thing that we're always kind of just trying to stay on top of, like, what does our next relationship look like? What is the need? And just staying really open.
Yeah. It's such an interesting balance when you're going out to start a venture like Ensō, where, you have to get clear about who is your market and who are you speaking with and who are the people that are going to engage with you, and being niche enough to where you're targeting the right people, but then at the same time being open to, okay, well, this might not have been the right specific. Oh,
I'm going to sneeze. No, you scared it away.
She scared it away. It's pretty good.
But, opened
and closed.
Open and closed. But, to be flexible and being clear about where you're going, being clear about what the market opportunities are, being kind of niche enough to get a little bit of foothold in what you're doing, because you don't want to be too. And I know we've talked about this where, we've worked with clients before that have not been super clear about it, and the necessity for a little bit more clarity, but then at the same time being fluid enough with what's coming at you and what you're seeing to be able to adapt and adjust. And, and I think that's a case that we're seeing for the people that we're interviewing on the podcast, but also what we're seeing kind of in the work that we're doing naturally.
Absolutely. Do you know what it's making me think about? Like, for all of us, and we're that humbling experience, right? Like, being open to self-discover, I think requires a bit of humility.
Oh,
right?
For
and
sure.
I think if you're a business, what it means to feel like a leader in the business, and that also maybe there's more that could be done.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
100%. It's just that it's that funny balance. It's always about the balance of you can't be so, heels in to say, I'm not going to pivot and I'm not going to change, and then this is the direction that we're going.
But you also can't blow in whatever direction something blows you.
Exactly.
Right?
You have to
Open, close.
Open, close.
Yeah.
Flexible and inflexible.
But I think that's something similar. Right now in the job market update, but with people that are, looking for, did you like that?
Yeah, good job.
People that are looking for jobs right now, I think that's something that's really hard, because everything is saying, get specific, but not too specific.
Yeah.
So it's you have to be able to know the things that you're really good at, come with the skills, but not be so rigid and set in stone that you can't learn a new way, or that you're it is that hard balance right now, where I think it's just a lot of things of having that fluidity and being able to move and pivot, but also knowing your value, knowing the things that you bring to the table, but also being able to say hey, maybe let's try it this way instead.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, Adam, I feel like you're a really great example of this, because, you obviously have kind of your core business, and then you have a lot of ancillary things that you do, ancillary, opportunities and partnerships and all that. What drives you when you're thinking about, what is the next thing, or how do I go and approach this next thing, or...
Well, and it may be cliche to say, and we've already talked about it just in this 5 minutes, but it's finding a need.
Yeah.
I think so often, I guess by the time this episode airs, this will already have occurred. But Leslie, because you're coming to speak at this event that I'm about to talk about, thank you. I'm involved in a kind of multi-year research project right now. That's something that's very important to me, which is looking at, and this is not necessarily the purview of this event exclusively, but looking at the part of an organizational lifespan. We all see those organizational lifespan charts, and it's interesting because you know those typical stages of the lifespan charts that you see, but you get to this one and it's regeneration. Which is awesome. But what often happens with organizations that doesn't come after regeneration on the chart is decline and death. Is our organizations inherently intended to exist in perpetuity? And we see this a lot in the arts, a lot in the arts, as any artist knows. And so I think particularly coming from the background of growing up in a funeral family, in a mortuary family, right? I think it's important to recognize that it's possible for even artistic organizations to realize a dignified death. But the problem is, when do we know when that writing is really on the wall? What is that true point? And so anyway, this research is involved with kind of gathering.
I'll gather.
I know.
Gathering data and evidence and interviews and oral history, all of these things together to kind of try to answer the question, when might the writing be on the wall from just not a gut perspective, although that can be just, if not more important, if not more important.
True.
But also, there's a lot of stakeholders to convince typically in these circumstances, many of whom may not actually be from the arts world. And so having some of that data is important. But even before we have that data, I think, again, coming back to this event that's coming up this coming Sunday, my business partner, Dave Hawks, and we have Resolution Creative, and we really wanted to give back. Austin has been so amazing to us. We started our company in January of 2020.
Oh, wow.
It's a good time.
Ominous month and year that our LLC was formed. But
you're still here.
We're still here. So anyway, this event is really about asking tough questions. And the questions that are, let me as an organization look in the mirror, and it's not prescriptive to say, we're in no way trying to push people to come to a specific conclusion, because that's not the idea. The idea is, have we asked the question, what does the ecosystem look like if we weren't here? What impact might that make? Are there other strategic opportunities that we're not necessarily thinking about that might be helpful to look at? And then bringing this full circle to the original question, what need do we fulfill in the community that, were we not in existence, would be a felt need? And I think most organizations can answer that question. But in the arts, I think a lot of organizations, it's so inherent to their mission as humans in that organization to be creatively fulfilling needs, that perhaps the messaging, the positioning,
100%.
the ways in which the programming is discerned may not as intentionally parallel those things, because they're not necessarily written down somewhere or discussed in a group setting. There's just this idea that the motivation to fulfill a need is there.
Right.
And so to me, in everything I do, and certainly when Sarah Fleming Walker and I founded OnTract, which is a company here in Austin that we're about to go into our 4th season next year, actually. And all 3 of you have been involved in OnTract, and so but we looked around. We did not one day meet and say, "Hey, let's start a theater company." That was not in our worlds. But we said, there seems to be a need in Austin for particularly performers who maybe can't commit to these very long rehearsal periods and these long performance periods, but are really talented and maybe are missing that part of their former lives. And that fulfills so many needs. That fulfills audience needs to see things that maybe haven't been seen in a while, musical theater wise, titles that you don't see anymore, but that would be too cost prohibitive to do on a bigger scale in full productions. And at the same time, it fulfills this need that we were seeing with all of our friends who are incredibly talented, but now have different lives that don't allow them to commit to very long processes, perhaps. And so, I really believe that's a big part of why OnTract is as successful as it is. But I also know we're very intentional about sharing that aspect of why we exist with our patrons, with people who might become patrons, with people who might move here and be artists. So that putting that story front and center, a very true story, is really important, I think. And that's what anytime I say yes to something or I start something or whatever, for me, it's is there truly a need here? Can we articulate it? Is it messageable? Is it does it hit that tipping point place where if we were gone, it would probably be felt. And so those are kind of how I think about getting into starting something or being involved with something else, because there's only so many hours in the day to be able to make impact, or attempt to.
Unfortunately.
So that's mine. Where's the need?
Yeah, for sure. Well, something that came up for me too, just now as you were talking about it, like if it was gone, you would feel the impact. But I think like you don't even know you're missing it at the onset, right?
Yep.
That it's like, I'm missing something. I don't know what it is. It's there. And now when I know, then it becomes a need.
Yeah.
That's right. You don't even have to be able to identify it so specifically at the outset. And it is that inductive. I think we're always also so, and this is something that comes up in this multi-year project too, which is, in research, it can be so easy to fall into the deductive, like, well, here's all of this. Now I'm going to like hone in with a hypothesis. There are other like paradigms, certainly, where you can say, okay, well, let's go inductively and let's see what emerges from these stories versus having this theory that we're testing out with interviews and oral histories and other data. Well, let's just like put it all on the the wall. I almost said window. I don't know why.
The window.
Let's put it all on the window. Let's put it all on the wall, and then let's see themes, and we do this all the time in coaching.
All
the time. We're like, where's the stickies?
100%.
I don't have my stickies. Can't do the session.
Yeah.
But like we all the time look at this whole thing and say, well, what themes or what codes or what is interweaving here? We're not necessarily starting with like a hypothesis that we're testing. And I think that also is so important in leadership, remembering that sometimes it's throwing it on the wall oftentimes and saying, well, is there a need in this whole thing? And sometimes it just sticks right out to you. And sometimes it's the other way around. Yeah. And I think you're so right, Kathleen. I think it's being open to any way that this kind of thing might present itself.
It's interesting, the approach. What I hear your approach, Adam, is that there's not a lot of ego in it because the approach is very much around the needs of the community, of the people, of the art, of whatever. So there's a lot of humility in that. No ego, and also requires humility around, is this a valid thing? Do we continue to pursue this, or do we let the idea go? Right.
And I just really believe that like ideas can be and initiatives and even organizations. I'm thinking about like Tilt, the disability theater company, focused theater company that
Adam ran
for a decade. And it was like it fulfilled a need for a decade, and it was important for a decade, and maybe it would have been important beyond that, but that does not in any way erase
the work
that it was successful.
You see now still the impact. New festivals have developed.
I was just gonna say
that I don't think would have had Tilt not existed. New accessibility things that we see in the arts world in Austin that I really don't think, maybe at some point they would have through some other means. But and certainly our company members, many of whom like many other people, but felt very, very, very isolated during the pandemic. And if it had only been a 2-year, 3-year project that happened during the pandemic, it would have been so worth it unto itself. Yeah. And so I think that sometimes too, we're just so afraid to let things go because we're like, oh, that means we failed.
Right.
And I can't think of it. I can't think really of an artistic endeavor that I've been involved with, whether I just came into it or whether, it was something that I was part of forming or whatever, that I feel like was a failure. But I've been involved with many that have quote
lived
closed.
their life.
Right.
And I really just think things live on.
Yeah.
Most of the time. And even if you file that, that closure with the Secretary of State or whatever in a legal way. And, one of the things I think is interesting, and I think this is applicable, I don't think this is tangential, but that has come up in sort of this research is that fairly recently, the IRS now requires when you form a nonprofit, you must identify where your assets would go if you were to dissolve. I think this is very important because I think that it plants a seed that should be there.
Yeah.
That maybe perpetuity is not always the end goal. And if there was a theater company here years ago, and I Palindrome was the name of it. And that founder set out to say, this theater company is 3 years. We're doing 3 seasons, 3 years. Here's what we're doing. And then we will close.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting just to see. I still remember many of the productions they did and who was in them and what they did. And it's just an interesting model that, is very different from what we think when we set out with a lot of
defining
things.
success, right?
Yep.
I mean, and I think that it's just like, what is longevity does not mean successful, right?
100%.
And so if you are some kind of artistic or theater company or any kind of company, like, what is it that you're setting out to do and why are you forming? And maybe you fulfill that mission in
a year.
2 years. And maybe that was it, and that's okay.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think, what you use the word failure, right? Like that I don't feel like these are failures. And I think that is, a perspective or a lens that everybody could use as a benefit, right? Which is like, there are no failures. Like we are learning human beings, right? So every misstep, closure, failed business attempt
All in quotes.
is just all in quotes, by the way.
Yeah.
The air
If you
quotes
cannot
are
see me,
coming in hot. They are
they're
going.
crazy.
Yeah.
But like the whole point is that these are just opportunities for us to learn.
Yes.
And, and again, like every closed door is just a opportunity to focus elsewhere.
Truly.
Yeah.
Truly.
Like whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It makes me think too about like where we have agency.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right. 100%.
Right? That it's like making it a choice then that like if this has had its time, how do I choose to close up this time and move forward?
Right. Well, and how much power is there and energy do we get to spend on what is good or what is working or what is than we do on feeling the ego blow that quote unquote failure has or a missed opportunity or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I think there is something to be said for when a door does close to just immediately go to, okay, well, what's the opportunity? What did I learn? How do I take away from this versus dwelling on
The door is closed.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Right.
But that takes a lot of work. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
just do this.
So much
It takes a lot of work, a
100%.
lot of programming, and also like feelings are real.
Right.
So
Yes.
this is where having
Yeah.
some of that internal reflection of like, I'm feeling this way,
Yeah.
and then asking myself, what is causing me to feel this way? What is the thought behind that feeling is something
Right.
we talk about a lot.
In coaching.
In
yeah.
coaching, the thought behind the feeling, and then that's where the reframe comes,
Mhm.
right? So it's
Like, what is the opportunity in this? And
exactly.
how do I move forward from this?
Exactly.
In a way that's
Bias. I mean,
productive.
I am in no way. I think bias can be helpful and detrimental sometimes. Like, I am in no way, what do I want to say, unaware of the fact that like I grew up. All of my formative years were in an environment where death was an inevitability and a near daily reality.
Yeah.
And so, of course, I'm going to have a specific perspective that may not be ubiquitous. And at the same time, I think that can be a helpful thing.
Yeah.
It's like we bring in our own lived experiences
Yeah.
into a circumstance and just keeping in check, well, where might these not align with an opportunity or with a client with whom I'm working or with whether that be an organization or an individual. And just that awareness, I think, is a very helpful pursuit.
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, I think piggybacking on this concept of quote unquote failure or quote unquote, learnings, like I do feel like these again, we have been in business, for almost 4 years now, also with Ensō. And, I do feel like the ability, my personal ability to turn every closed door or, thing that didn't turn out exactly the way that we wanted to into okay, what do we take from this experience and how do we leverage this for whatever is next is happening a lot faster. And I do think this is, and again, like from a coaching standpoint, this is something that we know to be true. Like when we're reprogramming, and again, please know, I have a military father and a Korean mother. So like failure, not okay in my household. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just grew up as like we just don't fail. Like you get good grades and you behave yourself and be a good little girl and like all of these things. That was like my upbringing. And then I worked for an organization that was like,
you make good grades.
You make good grades. You be a good little girl. Grew up in like these environments that were kind of conducive to that.
Yeah.
And so, learning personally the necessity and the energy that it gives me to look at it through that lens of opportunity versus this lens of, oh God, what did we do? How, I'm a failure. I failed the team. I failed, into a, how do we take this and learn from it and then leverage this for whatever is next is a big thing.
Absolutely. And to me, some of it is like, that's where it's even more impressive than what you might originally define as success is always the like, what do you do when something, I don't want to say like goes wrong, but like, how you come back. That is more defining of who you are.
100%.
Right? So it's like, this is, because it comes back to the opportunity, which is a reframe. How is the ending of one thing an opportunity?
Yeah.
The old comeback kid. You can't keep her down.
Yeah.
No,
but it's like
coming back.
That's right.
Whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
And
like
the
it or
community of people you build in those circumstances.
Absolutely.
Like that's maybe the greatest asset.
100%.
Yeah. Well, and sorry, because now I'm thinking about this too in terms of like community and people being able to see themselves and seeing that representation, that even that can be the like, oh my gosh, Leslie, I look up to you so much and I think you're incredible and that you're just this perfect angel. And that like, if something doesn't go right, then I
she's all right.
No, but
she paid Kathleen to say that.
But like if something goes awry, then it goes from being like she's untouchable to she's also a human.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right? So I think, and that then
we know
like
you're human.
strengthens the bond.
Yes,
every day.
I agree. I do
Perfect
agree.
angel
I agree.
every
Never
day.
happened.
Yeah. But I think also for leaders, right? Like Leslie's a leader. We talk to a lot of leaders out there.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I also like, I do feel like there are days that are harder than others for sure, and like there is something to be said for kind of like laughing and just giggling at the missteps and the mistakes and all the things too, right?
It's what you do with it.
Not taking yourself too seriously.
Seriously.
Well, and I also think it's okay to like claim something as a failure.
Yeah.
Right.
That too.
Like, that was a massive.
And then it's like the concept of failing forward, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. And I think that also is okay and advisable to be okay. It's okay to say that really maybe it just wasn't a good idea.
Yeah.
But I think the confidence to do that comes
true.
from having successes, things that you say are successes. And that goes right back to what Libby said, which is how do I define that?
Yeah.
You know, and having a real way to talk about it. Like, I'm personally very big as, Dave and I, our company, like we're really big on getting individuals to be able to articulate mission, vision, and value statements for themselves, which is something that you really often see kind of only applied to like organizations.
Right.
And the change that happens in people, and then we all do it in different ways and we all see it in different ways sitting here, but the change that happens in people when they're like, when they can claim a mission in the world, like, and articulate it and the vision for their impact in the world and articulate it as a human.
Yeah.
That's huge. It's like, it's amazing what the difference
gives people
you see.
a deeper purpose.
Yes.
Than, get up, go to work, come home, feed myself, go to sleep.
I think it's something, and I mean, I know, Adam, that you and Dave work primarily with artists that are doing, looking for claiming their mission, vision, values, all of that. And as, when I'm talking to people that are looking for jobs and things along those lines, but even, people that think, okay, well, I'm going to go work for this company. Everyone go to their webpage. Here's what their mission, vision, values. Do they really live them? Probably not. But if people are trying to fit themselves desperately into like that box. Whereas when we're coaching, I'm like, okay, but what are yours?
Yeah.
Like, that's great that the
100%.
company values these things.
Yes.
What do you value? And maybe that lines up with the company, maybe it doesn't, but how do you show up authentically every day? And so I think that that's something that's even been kind of a shift, is going from how do I make myself fit into this box that this company wants, and how do I show up in the way that they want? Like, how do I define who I am authentically so I can show up to work every day myself? But I think that that's such a huge thing, and just knowing that
100%. 100%.
and not trying to,
Yeah, squeeze into what
Yeah.
somebody else's mold of you is,
Right.
right? I actually read, go figure, I read a Harvard Business Journal article specifically about what causes turnover and job fatigue.
burnout.
And it is the natural progression is that people are not getting what they need from the work environment, but they are not doing their due diligence in identifying what is it that they actually
Yeah.
need.
Sure.
Like, what are the things that are going to truly motivate you or
Yeah.
get you excited? And this article talked about it kind of falls into a couple of buckets, which are the responsibility of the employer. But to your point, if that individual isn't clear, all that ends up happening, and they said this in this article, all that ends up happening is that they just move from organization to organization. This job looks good, I'm going to go take it. This job looks good, I'm going to go take it. This job pays more, I'm going to go take it. And there's nothing deeper from a motivation standpoint that's actually driving them to cause them to actually want to stay connected. And so, this idea of organizations having massive turnover is twofold. It's not just the organization's responsibility to make sure that they're working to uncover the deeper motivations of their team members, but also the team members work to really identify what is it that I need from this job that is going to cause me to stay engaged and stay motivated and not get into a burnout space.
I mean, it's huge. I mean, it's such a big conversation. And Adam, to your credit, as artists and actors and all of that, people that are constantly being told no for reasons that they do not, maybe they'll never know or have any control over. And your job is literally to fit inside of whatever box or whatever character.
Yeah.
And so, but giving them some sort of control over who they are and what they bring to the table, I think that is just huge. And that's such a shift in a place where, you're set, you're too tall, you're too short. No. Or maybe you'll never know why.
When you're 24 years old and you're just like, I'll take anything. Just send it my way. I'm going to do it.
Yep.
I'm going to audition for anything.
Yeah, I'll do
I will
anything.
take anything. And then you're just miserable halfway through the production.
And knowing what types of companies you want to work for, what types of work that you're interested in. And that would have saved me a lot of heartache if I would have had that. But I think there's so many artists that just get swept away in the people-pleasy side of things where you have to be everything for everyone. But who are you?
Yeah.
Well, and if the dynamic ever truly does feel, I think, in an arts, I'll talk about theater specifically, but this is applicable across genres, you know. But if it ever truly does feel like you're a commodity and there is the director is not a collaborator, but is this dictatorial kind of circumstance, the employer, and you are the commodity.
Yeah.
Well, that's never going to create the best product, number one, or the best art. And it's also just not a place you probably want to be.
No.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Right. Does the buck that, just by virtue of also the process, the director, I always think is kind of like a judge in court, right? In a way, if another person were up there, the assessment might be different. The attorneys are collaborators in this whole process. Right? It's but there has to be one decision maker just for it to work.
Cohesiveness.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Vision.
And that to me is what a director is, but it's not, well, I'm just going to tell you how this whole thing is going to run.
Right.
There would be no need for attorneys. And there would be no need for actors or technicians or
You just have AI do it.
well, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean that, right? And to me, that's it. That's like that. If you're ever as an artist, or maybe as an artist, your livelihood is coming from your work, and maybe it's not. And I think those are equally valid and great things. But I understand that maybe in a company, you're like, well, I need to keep my job.
Yep.
In a way that may or may not be different for some artists, but I do think that does apply most places. If you're really feeling like I am just a commodity and nothing more.
Yeah.
Going back to death, life is too short.
100%.
You know,
Yeah.
100%. 100%.
So why can't, and I think that's probably some of what I think a lot of people, and you all can speak to this better than I in this circumstance of going into organizations as coaches. But I think that there are a lot of people who want that as leaders. I think there are actually a lot of people who do want to be collaborative and not just autocratic, dictatorial leaders of their organizations.
Yeah.
And that's not always a fair, and it's not always a fair thing to pin on leaders that like, well, obviously you're just you don't care about any of the people you work with, or you don't, and some people don't. I mean, there's always the outliers, of course. But I think that just the fact that people are engaging Ensō to come in to their organizations says there is a desire on the part of some, and hopefully a lot of people, to change these tides of work ecosystems and culture to something better.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we could probably get into a whole conversation about AI and what that's going to mean for the future of work and all of those things. But I do think the some of the key components that will not change is human interaction and human engagement and the abilities for humans to decipher things. And if you start to take those things away, the creativity that comes with being a thinker and a business partner and all of those things, you lose the competitive advantage. Like, I am a firm believer that that's what AI is going to do. It's going to cause the humanness to become more of a commodity, to use your language, or to become more of a value add. Whereas the thinking and the ideation, some of those things might actually become more automatic or happen through technology.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
And so that's where, businesses, as they're continuing to evolve, have to think differently about how they engage with their team members and their partners and allow the technology to do what the technology does.
Yeah, the human and human resources really takes on a very different
100%.
a very different trajectory.
100%. We'll have another conversation. Maybe we'll bring an AI expert in.
So many.
Ooh.
Yeah? No, we know a couple.
I know.
We know a few.
Yeah.
I can think of a few,
Yeah,
actually.
so can I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
We know
think
some
that'd be
people.
We should do that.
very
Okay.
interesting.
To come, AI
Yes,
experts to talk
AI
about the
experts.
future of work.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, I like that.
So good.
I mean, I'm a firm believer that there is going to be a major renaissance of art.
I know we've talked about this.
We have talked about this.
Yeah.
I am a firm believer that what's going to end up happening is that people are going to want to see live performance without any augmentation of anything. And acoustic music is coming back, and live performance is coming back with no technology interference,
Analog.
all that analog style. People are going to yearn for it. They're going to want it.
From
I
your
love
lips
that.
to God's ears.
Yeah.
There
right.
she is.
Right.
Yeah.
So we'll be back times 2. Human in
Times
business.
2.
Yeah.
That's
human
right.
in business and a shimmy in person.
Yeah. You can't get that shimmy from
There
You
we
can't
go.
get that shimmy.
Don't
Not you
tempt-
can't get this shimmy.
Yeah.
Don't tempt me with a good time. Oh,
We're all
Nice.
shimmying now. You
That's
don't.
right.
We're all
know.
shimmying.
I-
and it's, And
shimmy
yeah.
for days.
Yeah. Just
how
here we
good
go.
are they?
That's right.
Man,
So good.
Libby, you got a good shimmy going.
I have a great shimmy.
She
I don't
does
like
have
to
a
brag
shimmy.
about it, but
this is like an AI shimmy.
I have a superior
Kathleen and Leslie?
shimmy.
I know.
Very little
very
shoulder,
different.
mostly. I'm proud to say I've passed it on to at least one of my children. She was shimmying the other day, and I was like, that's outstanding.
It's good.
That's outstanding.
The Fosse
God.
legacy continues.
Yeah. Thank goodness.
I
Thank
love
God. I'm not going to have to teach you how to do that. It comes naturally.
All right. Well, on that note,
On
Yeah,
that
that
note,
feels like, I mean, what else do you say after
Shimmy
What do you say
listeners.
after
It's a
that?
good
feels like-
finale.
Feels like a good
Leave
way
them
to
wanting
end
more.
it. Yeah.
Yes.
Which I think they knew.
Well, we're on to 4.
We're on
Yeah.
On to
four.
season 4.
It's going to
We'll
be a good one.
probably last like 6, 7 seasons.
At least.
Sure.
25.
We're open though, right?
Yeah.
That's not like
That's
That's
it.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
ready. We're ready for when this thing's dead. We're gonna say, Adam,
Adam,
will
do
you
a
see us
ceremony."
off?
Yeah.
Yes.
See us off
Into
tonight's
the great
ceremony.
beyond.
Yeah.
That's right. We'll light some lanterns.
That's right.
Push
This
some things
feels
into the ocean.
That's
Knew it.
right.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
That's right.
All right.
yeah.
Well, as
Until then.
always, yeah,
Until
until then, please subscribe to us on all platforms
Mhm.
and tell your friends.
Tell your
We would
friends.
like for this thing to keep going.
Yeah.
But we're
Let us
also
know what
ready
you
for
wanna
it
see,
to.
too.
Yeah, let us know what you want to
Seriously.
see. And if
Yeah.
you want to participate, raise your hand. You will go through the Libby detector.
Yeah.
That's right. You go through screening. Good luck.
Yeah. Shimmy, just shimmy for her
Yeah.
on the
Yeah,
next
that's
time.
right.
That's the
I don't know.
screening.
That's risky.
All right, we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.